All right, everybody. Austin Lucas. Thanks so much for being here, man. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, my friend?
Yes, indeed. So, 27
Looking.
miles on a bike. Is that a common thing for you?
Yeah, relatively. I kind of like. Okay, so because of COVID-19, there's no gyms, and I have been an avid cycler for a long time. Well, not a long time, for a few years, and I've been a runner for a while. So I kind of like alternate on doing long distance runs and doing long distance cycling. And it's not like for a road cyclist, like I just did like 27 miles. That's like not really that big of a deal. It's like, a couple hours in the
Yeah.
saddle is not really much. but but yeah, I mean, I do between 20 and 30 or 40 miles as often as possible. And then I run, you know, usually somewhere between 6 and 15 miles, like a couple times a week too. Uh,
Awesome.
so it just depends on where I'm at. Like I actually, usually I was running a lot for a while, and then I just sort of got bored of running because I was running like every day, like between 6 and 15 miles, and like when you run like 15 miles, it's hours, you know what I mean, like of
Yeah,
running.
that's a
So
lot.
after a while, you're just like, this is boring. It's like there's not enough Democracy Now episodes, you know what I mean, like to get me, So,
It can be
but then,
hard on your joints too, right?
yeah, I mean, it can be bad on your knees. It just depends, I think, on like how you run. You know what I mean? Like, I actually like, I'm a, you're because like, okay, so I'm a Muay Thai fighter and a coach, and
Right.
so since I'm like a boxer, a kickboxer, like a lot of like what I do is based around that shit. Like so when I say there's no gyms open, I mean like I can't go anywhere to punch and kick things.
Right. Right.
But I always do these other things to like build my cardio health. You know what I mean? Like
Cool.
supplementally on top of what I do
Yeah.
in the realm of martial arts. So but I do a lot. Like my martial art, has me on the balls of my feet all the time, and so like basically when I run on the balls of my feet, which is what you're supposed to do. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're running heel to toe, you know what I mean? Like then you're really sending a lot of jolts through your, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
your joints and bones and stuff like that. So yeah, it really depends. I do end up if I get a foot injury at all, then like like at the top of my feet,
Hmm.
like or on the balls of my feet, then I can't run. You know what I mean? Like and
Yeah.
I gotta just switch over to cycling entirely. It's like the only thing I can do. But
Right.
but yeah, so uh I don't know. So yeah, it is normal. I do a lot of fitness stuff. I had
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
stiff on my bike recently last
Ooh.
week though, and
Oh, ouch.
I had like this I don't know if you can see this shit right
Yeah.
here.
What was that? Is that a pedal or?
I don't know what this was, honestly. Like it just like, sliced into me. I haven't inspected the area of my bike that like it could possibly be,
Yeah.
but I fell on my hands, and luckily I didn't tear up my hands, but they like hurt really bad. So they kind of like it put me out of commission for about a week. Like, or I got the wind knocked out of my sails, I should say. So I
Yeah.
just felt like running around writing songs and eating ice cream for the last week.
Yeah.
So that's all right.
So it's
I
good.
got back at it yesterday. I started like trying to exercise again, like
Yeah.
heavily. So
Good. Good. Yeah. I've been doing yoga primarily and walking a lot. Maybe it's because of the way that I tend to run, but when I run, it does jar my knees. I've always had kind of shitty knees, so
mhm.
I tend not to run,
Yeah,
but
if you got short
yoga's
knees
good.
already, running is hard as fuck. It can really mess you up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. When did you get into martial arts, or has that been something kind of you've been working at for a while? Like, I know I've seen like when you went to train and stuff on Instagram, but I wasn't sure if that was your first introduction to it or if you've been kind of working at it for a long time.
Well, I mean, I did like Taekwondo when I was a little kid.
Hmm.
Um, so that like got me into martial arts. And then, over the years, like I used to be a pretty like I wouldn't say like sporty kid or physical kid, but I was moderately physical. You know, like I grew up in the woods, so I ran around hiking and stuff like that, like
Yeah, me
all
too.
the time. And yeah, so um, and then I did taekwondo when I was young, and then I discovered rock and roll when and punk, and then the only thing I really wanted to do was like fucking play with my friends like in bands and get drunk and you know I was I wanted to meet women and you know what I mean like and do drugs and fucking like all
Mm-hmm.
that shit and it's like so I always wanted to get back into martial arts and especially like I've always um, been like a I would say uh, leftist like activist adjacent. So it's like I've always been like, something big's going on. I'm a body. Like I'm not a organizer. I never was an organizer. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was just like a person who cared about these things and like would, you know what I mean, like lend their support vocally. I would read a lot about like leftist politics and like philosophies by the indigenous peoples all over the
Mm-hmm.
world and like all sorts of different stuff. And of course, like I've had times in my life where I just completely shut that shit down and just like only focused on like my country music career or you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like or whatever. Just wanted to be a drunk loser for a while, like
I've done that too.
yeah,
Yep.
right. But like, but really, I always had it in my head that I like wanted to be more active, and like I used to always sort of like feel some shame because when I lived in Europe, there were a lot of like anti-fascist like activists that trained really heavily in Muay Thai and other like martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like they were always trying to get me to come. They were especially when I started gaining weight, they were like, dude, you should come and do this stuff with us. You'll lose weight and then you can do what I mean, like help us out and be what I mean, like a more proficient fighter. And so like I always wanted to but never did because I was too stuck. I was really
Yeah.
anxious and unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just eventually when I started making big changes in my life is when I like discovered martial arts, like again. And
Yeah.
so it was like 5 years ago where I like kind of walked into a martial arts gym, into a kickboxing gym, an MMA gym or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
was like I need to learn this stuff. And so then I started doing it, and yeah, so that brought me to Thailand eventually, and like, and eventually I became a coach, like, and now like I'm part of a collective that trains like uh, um, other activists, and you know, our goal is to have a gym that's like a people's gym basically for like people of color and trans people, and just basically like uh, other activists and what people outside of the mainstream, but focusing
Awesome.
mostly, hopefully, on people who are already interested in leftist politics and organizing like workers and you know what I mean, like and the types of conflicts that people in, especially where I'm from in Indiana, which is
Mm-hmm.
like a very like progressive little blue dot in like an enormous red sea of red. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so, we have a very large, like LGBTQI like community, and like it's embattled. It's a very strong, great community, and there's like it's they really take care of like themselves and stuff like that, and they're
Yeah.
like, and it's a very powerful but artistic community and very supportive, but we are in the middle of like a place where people want them dead, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Scary.
and yeah, it's scary. So I just I realized like at some point a few years ago I was like out jogging and I was wearing this like pair of like pink Muay Thai shorts,
Mm-hmm.
and like somebody was like basically these good old boys and like Diesel, like they were just like they called me a faggot, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like, and like, and I just was like, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, hey, what's up,
Yeah.
like, and I was, you know, thinking, and I thought to myself, I was like, those dudes don't want to stop. I will wreck those motherfuckers.
Yeah, I know.
Like, they have
I know
no
that
idea.
feeling.
Like, I'm not even remotely worried about them. And they're
Yeah.
screaming at me because they look at me as a target because, like, I'm wearing these funny little pink shorts. And if they
Yeah.
knew what these pink shorts were, they're fighters shorts, like,
They wouldn't even
and like,
fuck around.
yeah, like they would be like, I mean, I've actually literally had an experience once where I came from the gym and I went to go see Coulter Wall play for a minute. And like, I was like out training and I didn't have time to shower or change and I couldn't go into the show. I just wanted to hug one of my friends that was there at the show.
Yeah.
And I like pulled in, I stopped by and I like was walking up to the show and this dude was like, look at that fucking, you know what I mean? Like queer. And the other dude literally, and I could hear him, he said, don't fuck with that dude. Those are Muay Thai shorts.
Yeah. Well, at least he knew his shit. Yeah.
It was fucking hilarious because I was like, one dude's in, and they're both probably dumbasses. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like one dude is like, you know what I mean? Like just a basic good old boy. The other dude's a martial arts fan.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and he was just like, and it fucking almost knocked me over. I was like, that's hilarious because I'm wearing gold lame on the
Yeah.
street. You
Yeah.
know, like that looks weird. Like I get it. Like but I've been punk since I was 12. I've been getting weird looks since I was a fucking kid.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. But circling back to my shit, like what I'm talking about is that like I just realized a few years ago that like as a person who's like doing this thing and who's like getting fucked with, you know what I mean? Like how many like other people are getting fucked with, and it
Too
was one of the
many.
first times I've been fucked with like in a long time. Because when I was younger, people fuck with me a lot, but punk isn't as weird anymore as it was when I was a teenager.
No, and colored hair and
Yeah,
piercings and tattoos aren't as odd as they were when we were young.
yeah. I mean, and yeah. So I basically it was a revelation. And I was just kind of like it reminded me, like of what it was like. And I was kind of like, man, I need to really try to see if I can do some outreach
Yeah.
among like other people, like that are like-minded that don't feel comfortable in a normal martial arts gym and
Yeah.
stuff like that because it can be really intimidating. So I just basically
Sure.
started like, talking to my friends and, I'd go to the gay bar and, you know what I mean? Like, and be hanging out with pals
Yeah.
and people would be like, how did you lose all the weight? And I'd be like, well, I'd explained it to them and, you know what I mean? Like, and all that kind of stuff. And, like I'd stop in to get coffee on my way to the gym and I'd be wearing my crap and like, the barista would be like, you look fucking awesome. What is that? And I'd be
Yeah.
like, this, like, and then slowly but surely, like people started asking me about it and I started training some people and, you know what I mean? Like, and there's a bunch of other issues that led towards people getting more into it, including an uptick of like white supremacist activity
Yeah.
in like
Violence.
Canadian. But like, yeah, that's basically
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that it that's excellent to hear that, you're getting so involved. And I felt the same way in my life when I just kind of I have all these things I care about like you, but I realized within the last couple of years really that, after I sobered up, stopped drinking and doing drugs, that I really wanted to get more involved too. And that's why I was going to ask you anyway, if you have a particular website or organization that you'd like to highlight, and I can put the link in the comments below too. So
I mean, there are lots of organizations that are worth highlighting. Like right now, I think in the time of COVID-19, like the most important organizations in a lot of ways are, well, I mean, there's a lot of important organizations right now, but a lot of harm reduction and mutual aid organizations are the ones that like I'm most interested in talking about. I mean, there's the Indiana Recovery Alliance, which is started out as a needle exchange program and has like,
okay.
Gone on to like, providing naloxone trainings to, like the police even and all, like all sorts of different people and, mostly because nobody else would do it, like, but they predominantly provide naloxone trainings. I don't know if you know what naloxone is or not, but it revives people who are ODing like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My cousin is an
And
EMT, and he told me about that. Yeah.
so it's basically like, what they mostly do is they provide training for like for community members. And so if you have somebody in your life who is a drug user, of any variety, because not all drug users are chaotic drug users. Like there's a lot
Right.
of people out there that are functional drug users for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. And like the misconception is that like a, a if you're using like opioids or meth, that you're on the street and you're like completely dysfunctional. Like, and
Yeah.
the truth is that there's a lot of people who are silently suffering through this sort of thing. And of course they have friends who are doing, or I say silently suffering, I don't want to say that it's necessarily like a crippling thing. For some people it's merely self-medicating because they suffered through a lifetime of trauma.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of uh, reasons why people will be drug users and choose to self-medicate and stay outside of the system. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so
Right.
if you're going to be in a world where, and all of us are actually in that world, but if you're more closely touched to that world, it's very important to know how to administer naloxone, so that people can, so that you can revive a family member or a friend, or,
That's an
like, or
excellent
whatever.
point.
So, yeah. So they provide like, HIV tests, and they provide uh, hepatitis C tests, and like, they are right now like, helping get PPE masks and stuff like that to people.
Awesome.
And then plus like, there's a organization that's great called the Shalom House in Bloomington, Indiana, which is like basically people that are on the front lines of the houseless crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And Bloomington has like, it's an interesting thing. Like, they have one of the highest, very, very, very close to, if not the highest, per capita like rate of poverty in the United States, and
Wow.
houselessness. So, which is something that a lot of people don't realize because it's like this idyllic like university hippie town. But the truth is that it's one of the only places that provides services in the entire state of Indiana. And so, the policy amongst a lot of places in Indiana is to ship, like
Oh,
the
I see.
problem to Bloomington, to have Bloomington take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like Shalom Center is, like they're on the front lines of the houseless crisis, and helping people to find, like lodging, and of course, like they provide clothing. There's another organization called Mother Hubbard's Cupboard in Bloomington, Indiana, that provides like food, what I mean, like for
Right.
people, anyone, like
That needs
and
food.
that has to do with all types of people who are experiencing poverty. Like, and of course, the Shalom Center does help people with a lot of different types of poverty as well, not just like, the houseless crisis, the
Mm-hmm.
crisis of houselessness. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's those are the organizations that I would most talk about. I mean,
Cool, man.
the things that I do are very directly related towards like, empowering people.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether or not like those are essential services that need to be highlighted right now in like this day and age is like a totally different, like subject. Because martial arts is an amazing thing, and I'm so glad that I found it. And I'm like, after this, the next thing I do is I have 2 hours of like Zoom chat, um, like private lessons. You know what I mean? Like with
Mm-hmm.
my students at home.
Cool.
Um,
Cool.
so it's like, but you probably aren't gonna get into martial arts today in this. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
your thing is not your, like it's like if you're getting involved with the crisis and you want to like help out somehow, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
making masks, you know what I mean? Like figuring out ways to like make like, disinfectants, and you know what I mean? Like, and making like various other types of PPE, like shields. And there's like so many things out there,
Yeah.
like that are needed, you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
for people, like, so
Yeah,
yeah,
to
I mean,
stay
I'm glad that
safe.
I do what I do. And I like teaching other people how to punch and kick, and like I know how much it helps me, but it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. That makes sense. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's been a real pleasure seeing like obviously knowing you, meeting you years ago. I think the first time, because we kind of had the same circles of friends for a while, and then we met. I think we were on Warp Tour, and you were doing a different Tour at the same time, I believe, and we
Yeah,
met in a parking lot somewhere in America.
we did. I was on tour with Willie Nelson,
Right.
and we had a day off, and the festival promoters were the same as Warped Tour. It was
Yep.
Forfini,
You're right.
and so I was with a bus of people that decided to go to Warped Tour on our day off and hang out, and also do punk rock bowling. And I met y'all for the first time in a parking lot in front of a taqueria
Yeah.
on the way to burritos.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because I was like walking with my friend, like I don't even remember who I was with, like and I was going to get a burrito, and like you guys were like, "Hey, are you Austin Lucas?" And I was like, "I am." And
Hey, what's up?
and I didn't know who Larry and his Flask were until you told me like who you were that day. And then the next day I went and saw you at Warped Tour, and you blew my mind. I never forgot who you were for the rest.
Awesome, dude.
You know?
Thanks, man. Was that a show where we were playing like on the ground when you saw us, or were we on a stage?
It was actually, you started on stage, and like you were on stage to begin with. It was actually a really inspired sort of a thing, because I think that you told me what time you were playing, and so I made an effort to make sure to go. And I showed up like right at the beginning of your set, and there was like nobody there, like, and you were playing, and I was just like sitting there thinking to myself, I think actually, you know what, who I was with? I was with Brent Cobb. Do you know who Brent Cobb is? Like, I
Yeah.
was with Brent Cobb, and he was on the tour also. And like, and I was like, let's go see these guys. And like, he and I were watching, and we were like maybe only 5 or 10 people standing there watching y'all. And then like within like 2 songs, you know what I mean? Like, people were just like walking by, and they're like, what the fuck's that? And they just like, like, and then the next thing you knew, there were like hundreds of people watching you. And then you got off the stage and you did like all that stuff. And like, I was like watching, I was standing there, and I was like, I just watched this band make like 300 new fans. Like, I was like, because like and like people who had no fucking idea, like, and I'm one of them,
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for watching us. That's the beauty of Warped Tour. You can go from 0 fans to a couple hundred in one day if you
Yeah.
make the effort.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if they can relate to you, what I mean? I was on
It's a
tour
luck
once.
of the draw.
It was not good. I did not win any fans.
Oh, really?
Not really, no. I mean, it's like, there's a thing about me, and it's really interesting to me. It makes me, I mean, it's frustrating, but it's like, it's interesting. And that's that, like, I'm just a bit too country, like for like most people who aren't country fans. And then like, I'm way too punk for like
For most
basic country fans.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like it's really difficult. Like, I can't win regular country fans. Like, I'm like way too left. I'm fucking like, I'm queer positive. I'm an anarchist. I'm a feminist. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, my politics do not fucking mesh.
Yeah. But you don't
like,
necessarily want all of those type of people being your fans necessarily.
No, you don't. I mean, I made a very, like, there was a moment where I was like going deeper into that scene, and I was just like, if you don't start talking about what you believe in, later on, you're going to be fucking bummed.
Yeah.
Like,
you're gonna be
who
trapped.
you end up like, playing for. Yeah. And so I did. And of course, like, every one of those basic country fans that I ever picked up walked away almost as soon as they fucking showed up.
Yeah.
So, but it's like since I am the way that I am, it's like, the punk fans, like, and especially like scene kid, emo kids or whatever on Warped Tour, like they didn't get it, like, I mean, and there was a point where I was like standing on stage like one day, and I was just like, I know y'all are standing here because you're waiting for like the dude from Chiodos to play after me.
Yeah.
And I know you don't get what I'm doing, but like in 20 years, you're totally gonna get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, you know what I mean? Like, and so, like, so that's why I'm here. And I'm sorry right now, but I'll see you later.
Yeah. See you in 20 years. Come back around. Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
you know, you're a thoughtful, caring person with ideals and beliefs, and you don't want to hide them just so you can have some sort of commercial success. It would be for people like you and me, it would be too hard on your soul to let that slide and then get covered in this ideology that you don't agree with.
yeah, I mean, there are various ways of looking at it. I mean, some people would say that you should infiltrate, you know what I mean, like that, and
Yeah,
you
get
know,
a bigger
in a way,
following and
like
then do it.
yeah. And of course, like, you know, that's like what Willie Nelson sort of did, and that's what Steve Earle did, and you know, like they're like, you know, Chris Christopherson is a very famous socialist who, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
never told anybody until way later, you know what I mean, like, but you know that's like that's a way of doing things, but honestly, man, like I'm just like fucking wait, and this is a big problem for me is that like I'm not like I'm not good at obfuscating like what's the truth is about, you know, like me, you know, like I'm like, you know, it's like I'm anxious and I'm like depressed and like and if I'm feeling those things, it's like I can't not show them. You know,
Right.
like my poker face is fucking non-existent. So,
Yeah.
you know, like so when
Yeah.
like if I'm in a good mood and I'm under the influence of positive people, then like yeah, I'm fucking awesome. And you know what I mean? Like if I'm in a bad mood and then under the influence of like negative people, like I can fucking suck. And like it's like, you know, I've got no fucking filter. So thinking about trying, I mean, there were years where I tried not to talk about my politics too
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
that I just like tried to leave like breadcrumbs and stuff
Right.
like that.
Hmm.
You know, and I still don't quite punch people in the face with it the way that I could.
Right.
But at like some point, I was just kind of like, I feel like I'm dying. I have no opinion. I can't like if I go online, I've got no opinion
Hmm.
because all I'm afraid about, I'm constantly afraid of hurting somebody or offending somebody. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I'm
Right.
constantly afraid that I'm gonna lose a fan because of I say blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like and it wasn't until like I was like I don't fucking care anymore. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Then I was like, you know what I mean? I felt better. You know, I felt more honest. Like I was living my fucking, you know what I mean? Like my truth.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's
and that's
important
a
for you
big
to be
deal.
you.
Yeah.
Very important. Otherwise, you just feel like a stranger
I mean, I
yourself.
definitely felt like stranger in myself for a really long time.
Yeah.
You know,
Me
like
too.
that all has to do with like me just I don't know. There was a long time there where like I just wanted to fit in, you know?
Hmm.
And like when I was young, it existed. I wanted to fit in. And then like I discovered punk and then I decided I didn't give a fuck about anybody but punks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
and part of being punk was being yourself. So I was just gonna be me and people would love me or they would hate me and that'd be fine because
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
then like when I entered into my late 20s, like you know, I realized that like, and that was when I sort of I should say my star rose or whatever. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like where
Yeah.
people started paying attention to me as an artist and giving me like, um, you know, that type of attention and talking about me. Like blogs were talking about me, and I would go places and fans would recognize me at other people's shows or blah blah blah, like that kind of shit happening.
Hmm.
You know, like I started getting a lot of people saying that they hated me because of this reason or that reason. And you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, it really affected me. I mean, like, I got a bad reputation for being really, uh, you know, I'm sorry, uh, for being very egotistical and, you know, like, and sort of conceited and
Mm.
smug, thinking that I was like better than everyone else and more talented or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, the honest truth is that like, I heard that criticism and I really fucking took it to heart, you
Hmm.
know, like, and the way that I reacted to it was like by becoming as bland and milk toast as fucking possible. You know what I mean? Like so that like people, I just would be non-offensive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but then I like retreated into this like weird headspace where it was just like, you know what I mean? Like, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
and that like that wasn't positive for me as a human being. You know, like it made me super fucking depressed. And then I
Yeah.
also was really, I felt constantly aware of the fact that I knew that people disliked me for this reason or that reason, which
Hmm.
made me just assume that if somebody was a little bit weird to me, that that was what it was, which made me withdraw from them, made
Yeah.
me not reach out to my friends and peers and stuff like that because I was always thinking that they just probably hated me anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
and it's just like this whole thing.
It's a
And it wasn't
spiral.
until I started getting healthy, you know, like, and like
Yeah.
coming out of that, where I was just like, well, you know, like, actually, really, I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. And I'm like, I'm okay with the fact that I'm not for everyone. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you can do
Yeah.
great things 99% of the time and do one totally shitty thing and be judged for it forever. And
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
it's like, with that metric, you know, like you can continue going out and do as much good as possible. But the only way that you can like, I don't know, not fucking like for me, the only way I can not want to kill myself is if I just am nicer to myself when I fuck up and
Yeah.
just be like, well, that's not, I mean, I can't do anything about it now unless there is something I can do. Can I make amends? Can I, you know, like, can I apologize? Can I do something to help this person that I seemingly wronged? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
did I wrong them? Is
Yeah.
it just that they want to have a reason to be angry, or do they actually have a reason? And I'm going to listen to that. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, if I can help them somehow and make change their opinion, great. If not, if I can just help them anyway and apologize, then that's also fine because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's like I can only do right in ways that I can, you know, like,
Yeah.
and you know, like it's only um I don't know, it's only up to me to, you know what I mean, like to judge if I'm doing well or not,
Yeah.
you know, like I
Exactly.
just gotta love myself, you know what I
Yep.
mean, like, and
That's hard to do
mm,
sometimes.
yeah, I mean it's hard, that's hard shit to come to terms with, but it's like, you know, therapy and you know, exercise and psych meds, man, that shit'll fucking help you out a lot. I'm living proof, you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely, man. It's so good to see you, dude. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's something that there's a disconnect there for a lot of people that don't realize what they say. They think of musicians and artists as kind of like they're way over there somewhere, and they can just say these things at these people, and they don't expect these musicians and artists to be hurt by the words. You know, they don't think of you necessarily as a person a lot of times, and that can be very harmful. And I think it's important to highlight that we're all affected by each other's conversation, and I think that it's right to not take it too seriously, but that can be a hard thing to do, can get to come to terms with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you need to take it seriously. You also need to like have some amount of perspective, you know, like about the fact that like not everything's about you. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like a really difficult thing because all of us are like kind of in our own movie. You know what I mean? Like we're starring in our own movie.
Hmm.
And like, and so it's really difficult to be like, hey man, not everything's about you. Because how can anything not be about me? Everything's about me.
Yeah.
All my focus is on, you know, like
Yeah.
it's crazy because like so many people are like will say something about somebody and I'll hear them and they'll be like, that person, like, you know what I mean, they this, they that. They have no, like, they're so self-centered. They're so focused on themselves. And I'm just like, show me a fucking person that's not focused on themselves.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like, I think it's really important to like try to listen to other people, you
Hmm.
know, like to, you know, like to give, you know what I mean? Like of yourself to other people, you know,
Yeah.
like I think
Yeah.
that like, you know, being of service to humanity, at least to me, to my morals, is like enormously, it's up there. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
but not everybody has the same moral compass, like, and like that's very difficult to reconcile for most people because like you have your own worldview and so your metric is based upon your own life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very hard for a lot of people to like imagine that anybody would have a different perspective than they have because,
Yeah.
you know, their life experiences, what I mean, like dictate that they should have this opinion about this thing, and other people should have this opinion about things and have
Yeah.
done this thing. And it's like, and that's just not how it works,
No.
like, and so like, a lot of the time it's like for me, you've got to be like a really toxic person for me to just be like, fuck off,
Yeah.
like if you like sometimes if somebody and my partner has said before to me that like she feels like I'm too tolerant, what I mean, like that I'm too, what I mean, like willing to like believe the best in people,
Yeah.
like, and I'm always like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think that that's sort of true, but like I also am aware that people are capable of fucking doing awful shit. So it's like when somebody does something that's really harmful, like I get hurt by it because anybody will get hurt by it. But it's like I'm also not surprised because it's like
Right.
I know that people are just like it's like the world's chaos. The universe is fucking chaos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like we're all just smashing into each other. It's like me and my girlfriend get along really well, and like we love each other, but we've been stuck in an apartment for the last like 2 months. Like predominantly all the time, and we fight sometimes, and we're not people who fight.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like you can't like always sync with everybody
Right.
all the time,
No.
like, and yeah, like sometimes people are gonna misinterpret the things that you do or interpret them perfectly well based upon their own, what I mean, like worldview.
That's a good
And
point.
so like that's actually bringing me back to like what I was gonna say before or what I was saying before, and that is that when somebody says something critical about me, like whether it be about like my art or about me as a human being, and especially about me as a human being, I always listen to it because it's like there's got to be some amount of truth in there. And like whether or not that's like the predominant like person who I am, or that's like my overlying algorithm that's in operation all the time,
Mm-hmm.
like that doesn't mean that I shouldn't try to like, or even if it isn't that, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't still try to alter, what I mean, like my personal programming to like account for that and hopefully avoid that in the future. It's
Right.
like I'm a human being, like I'm learning all the time.
Yeah.
And like I want to keep learning until I die,
Yeah.
like it's like
Absolutely.
yeah.
So where are you in Germany right now?
I am indeed, yes.
So how did that all go down? How did you um are you living have you been living there, or are you stuck there for this
Yes.
COVID? Both.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm living here. I'm not exactly stuck here.
Okay.
Um, what happened was I wrapped my tour at the beginning of March, and I was supposed to go home uh, on the 14th of March. And COVID-19. I've been living here in Germany with my partner, who is a German American, who lives
Okay.
here in Germany.
Okay.
I was living here with her from the end of December, and the plan was that I was going to go home and do tour dates that I had lined up, and then she was going to follow me at the end of those and come and stay with me for about a month, and then she was going to come home and start school, and then I was supposed to come back here to play some festivals in the summertime and stay for a few weeks, and basically like because she was in the States for 3 months before I came here. So basically, we've been going back and forth. And at
Okay.
like once coronavirus started really like upticking, and it became obvious. Like the weekend I was supposed to fly home was the weekend that Trump declared that like only U.S. citizens could come home,
Mm-hmm.
and that everyone was going to have to go through a medical examination and quarantine, and like they hadn't like worked it out. And I just saw like the 2 days before I was flying home were just lines at O'Hare, which is where I was flying into,
Mm-hmm.
like just lines of people smashed together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were herded into a cattle car. You know, like, and I'm just looking at that going like, that's how you catch coronavirus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I really just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go home right now. So I applied for an extension on my, you know what I mean? Like my visitation
Mm-hmm.
here. And that was tenuous for a while. Like I had to go back and forth and fill out a bunch of different stuff. And, you know, like uh, now I can be here until the end of June
Okay.
if I want to. I want to go home, you know, like
Yeah.
I want to get back to, you know, my family, and you know, I want to get back to my house and stuff like that, because I mean, my roommate is there and he takes care of it, and that's great. And you know, like so it's not like, you know, and he opens my mail, so I know that I'm not getting any weird bills that I, you know,
It's good.
uh, are going delinquent or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's just, you know, it's like I haven't been home since December. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, I
Yeah.
left Bloomington on like the 22nd of December. And, you know what I mean? Like, and like, yeah, I haven't been home since then.
Wow.
So, like, I was supposed to be gone for like just under 3 months. And like, now I'm, you know, I'm at my 5th month here, I think,
Wow. Yeah.
you know, like, so yeah, it's, you know, like, or I'm heading into my 5th month here,
Yeah.
you know, like, so like, I mean, I'm into it, you
Yeah.
know, so it's like, yeah, it's fucking weird. So yeah, I want to go home,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Of course.
but
But you want to do what's
yeah,
right
I
and
mean,
safe.
well, that's, you know, that's really the thing, right? It's like I could go home, I could fly home tomorrow if I wanted to,
Yeah.
you know, like, but it's, do I want to go home?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Well,
will I, like, if I go home, will I be able to come back and be with my partner? You know what I mean? Like, it's like if I go home, like, I can't see my folks anyway,
right.
you know, like, because they're in their 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, I've got to stay distant from them,
Right.
you know, like, uh, it's like, what do I do? If I go home, I'm going to be in my house, and of course, like, I've got a gym in my basement, which is awesome, you know, like, that
Cool.
I'd have access to. But like, beyond that, you know, like, why right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
when it's safer? You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't play any shows. I had to reschedule the recording of my next record, which is, you know, well, not my next record. That's complicated. I've got another record coming out this year, that I've already recorded, and I'm doing another. But I was meant to record another one in May, and that got pushed to July. So like now I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if we'll be able to record it in July. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
Nobody. Yeah.
so we'll see. You know what happens there. So it's like, do I go home? Why would I go home? If I go home, what am I accomplishing other than like, you know, getting my homesickness cured? Then
Yeah.
I gotta start missing my partner who's gonna be here.
Yeah. I think
You
you're making
know?
the right choice for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you about this YouTube video that I saw where you're playing on the street. I wasn't sure where this attack occurred, but you were playing and then zombies attacked you.
Yeah. So that was filmed in 2011
Oh wow. Okay.
in Helsinki, Finland.
Oh okay.
Um, yeah. So what happened was, long story short, I was on tour with a dude named Digger Barnes in Europe, and we were headlining a show in Finland at Bar Loose. And basically, what happened was this video production team, like session, you know, like
Hmm.
production company, got a hold of me and they were like, hey, do you want to do a session? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And so when we got there, when we landed, we basically, they were just like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And like, we went to the venue first, like loaded our stuff. And then they showed up and they were like, hey, do you want to, we'll go do the session on the street. We've got this idea. There's a zombie walk tonight.
So they knew it was happening.
And we just want to put you in the middle of the zombie walk. And I was like, okay. And this is the thing that you should know. I am a huge fan of zombie cinema and television and literature, because zombies were my first real terror. Like when I was 6 years old, my friend's mom let me watch Night of the Living Dead, he and I, and it fucked me up. Like that movie fucked me up. So I've been afraid of zombies. Like I've had zombie apocalypse dreams since I was 6. Like
wow.
They upticked when I was a teenager. And like I had zombie apocalypse dreams basically my entire life up until when zombie culture became big. So like I sort of like when Walking Dead started airing, and like I got to like watch an episode of like my nightmares every day, you know what I mean? Like, or every week, like it just started going away. You know what I mean? Like it became like this like, immersion therapy thing. Right. So but I have had this like intrinsic, deep rooted fear of zombies for a long time. So when these guys were like, oh, we want to put you over here into the zombie walk, I was like, okay. And honestly, it was terrifying because like,
you wouldn't know it by watching. Your reaction was you kept singing and you kept playing and you were laughing out of fear maybe.
I just went into my okay. Have you ever been a singer-songwriter playing to a bar of people that don't give a fuck about you at all and are just like loud and heckling you?
I haven't played by myself ever, really. So okay. I can't.
But you know what it's like to be in a bar.
Yes.
Like where people don't like you and like and okay, so take that as a solo artist, a sensitive guy with an acoustic guitar sitting there being like, bingle bangle, bingle bangle, these are my feelings, and like people just being like, fuck off, and like having to deal with that and suck it up for an hour or not get paid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I have a space that I go to when like I have, you know what I mean? Like when like it's very frustrating and when trauma is happening to me, and I just like smile and just like get through it, but I'm not there.
Yeah. And that's like, where you were in the zombie apocalypse.
Totally became a robot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like the Austin Lucas animatronic band. You know what I mean? Like in that moment. I know, like I've watched the video and I respond to people and stuff like that, but like I wasn't there.
Talk about immersion therapy, man. That's literal.
Dude, no, seriously.
They were grabbing you and biting you and
they spit blood all over me and they were like literally like it hurt. They were biting me. Like I was like, oh my fucking God, this is my worst nightmare. You know what I mean? Like and I was just like, just get through it, man. Just get through it.
Well, you got through it.
You know, like,
it was a pretty insane place to busk or play.
Yeah. I mean, I think that some of them genuinely hated the fact that I was there.
In their way.
I think that they thought that it was opportunistic.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like
you were taking advantage of their zombie walk.
Yeah. And you know, like now, like thinking back on it, they're probably right. I mean, you know, like in a way, I mean, I don't know that I have, you know, like I don't know that I feel bad about being that type of opportunistic. You know what I mean? Like, but like there are other ways that I've been opportunistic that I feel way worse about over the course of my life. You know, like, fuck, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. It's a cool video. I couldn't tell that you were terrified.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
What is the craziest thing that you can remember being a part of, maybe on stage or at a show? Like, as far as thing that
Uh,
pops into your
okay.
head.
Yeah. Okay. So the craziest thing that I've ever done that like I still get panic thinking about this, right? Is that like okay, so when I was on tour with Willie Nelson, at the end of the night he does like a gospel medley, and
Mhm.
like everyone, you know, like gets on stage and sings with him who's around, right? So like a lot of nights I would make a point to be nearby to run up on stage and sing fucking with Willie Nelson,
Hell
you
yeah.
know, duh, right?
Duh.
Well, yeah. The last night of the tour was his 4th of July party, right? And so we were at Billy Bob's, which is the largest honky tonk in the world in Fort Worth, Texas. And I go running up on stage to sing with Willie Nelson. And on stage are Ray Wiley Hubbard, uh, Ray Price, uh, you know, fucking Jamie Johnson, freaking Lee Bryce, you know, like, and like, who else was on that stage? You know, a lot of folks, right? And I go running on the stage to go sing with Willie Nelson with all these heroes, and I'm stoked, right?
Yeah.
Like I am stoked. And I couldn't see anything, and they had put this amp or this they had mic'd up this amp with a long boom in the dark, Ray Price's fucking guitar amplifier. And I go running and just knock the mic straight over.
Oh shit.
And this is in front of thousands of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like the only time that Ray Price ever acknowledged my existence as a human being was to turn around and look at me mortified, like, what the fuck? And I had to like turn around and run. And like, you know, luckily I know a little bit about miking amps.
Yeah.
You know what I
How to
mean? Like,
place it.
like goal, and then ran, and then I started singing. You know, like,
Awesome.
but it's like it was so crazy.
Yeah.
And that story would have been like enough, just the people who are on stage. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Just that you got to sing
but,
with them.
yeah, I mean, I got to sing with all of these motherfuckers, and it's amazing. But yeah, I fucking kicked over Ray Price, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, you know, R.I.P. One of the most fucking brilliant country fucking musicians of all time. You know, total fucking hero. And like, I just shit on his rig, you know.
Well, I
in
love
front
the
of
part of
thousands
the
of
story
people.
that you continued on and you sang instead
Yeah,
of
oh,
just
yeah.
running away, which some people might have done.
That would be even more embarrassing for me.
Right.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
own it.
It's like I would rather like be like, well, I suck.
I'm
You know
sorry.
what I mean? Like then
Shit
and just be
happens.
like, well, here I am. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, things like that happen. You just have to go with it.
Yeah.
You couldn't have known that mic was there like that.
I mean, yeah, I
I don't
think,
know.
you know, I think that there were several of us running on stage, and I was just the unlucky fucker that like happened to run like at that angle. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you know, it could have just as easily been fucking, you know, like Brantley Gilbert who fucking ended up, you know, fucking up Ray Price's amp, but no, it had to be me, you know. And I'm glad that I did that. I'm
Yeah.
glad because, you know, it's like I did get to share a moment of eye contact with Ray Price,
Yeah.
and like, you know,
Absolutely, man. You got to
yeah.
take what you can get. That's great. Are you doing live stream and stuff like that, performances on for fans
I am, yeah.
online? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing different ones. Like I did one a few weeks ago where I did like a bunch of like Against Me songs, and I'm gonna probably do one where I do some like other people's songs. You know, like
Cool.
I did a Ben Nichols song in that set, and people were like, you need to do more Lucero songs, and so I might. And then you know, I am on Friday this week. I'm doing Common Cold, my first album in its entirety. And so I'm gonna probably be doing that like sporadically every couple of weeks, where I like do one of my records like all the way through.
Cool.
And those are ticketed events,
Okay.
like
Cool.
where like you have to pay for them and you get a private link. And then the other thing is that like I record them, and so like I'm sending people the complete audio from what I mean, like from that
Awesome.
like the session. So after Friday, when if you've bought a ticket, you know what I mean, like then you get like the audio
Cool.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that too. If you let me know where people can go, I'll put that down there in the comments as well. So
Yeah, I mean, you buy tickets literally by sending me money on PayPal.
okay.
Like I'm just literally like, how do you circumnavigate like having any kind of a ticketing person, you know what I mean? Like, outside. I'm like, this is my PayPal,
Yeah.
like, and it's sliding scale donation, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, donate what you can. If you donate this much, then you get the recording. That's what it is. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like, so,
That's really cool.
like any amount above here, you get the recording. And like, yeah, that's basically it. It's just like, hey, send me money and I will send you a private link to this so you can watch it. You know what I mean? Like, and
that is awesome,
it.
dude. Cool, man. So I do this thing on here where it's called I Call Bullshit. So
Okay.
basically what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 4 facts.
Okay.
And they're just random trivia bits. And you just have to call the one that you think is bullshit.
Okay.
All right. You ready? I don't have a prize for you. I'm sorry.
That's fucked up.
I know.
Put me on the spot and make me look fucking stupid potentially. You're not even going to give me anything? Jeez.
I'll think of something. You got to send me your address and I'll think of something to send you. I'm not going to tell you.
All
It's
right.
going to be a surprise prize. Okay. So number 1, lobsters taste with their feet.
Okay.
Number 2, there was a man trapped at the top of the Willis Tower for 3 weeks. Number 3, Queen Elizabeth II's cows sleep on waterbeds. Number 4, the Empire State Building has its own zip code. So one of those is bullshit. Austin Lucas, which one?
I mean, I want to say the cows one, but in my head, I'm just like imagining that that there's some sort of system that like makes the cows produce better milk if they're on like some sort of hydraulic, you know what I mean? So I'm not imagining that they can like lay on like a regular, like I'm not like talking about like the water bed that I got laid on in my friend Julian's basement, like in, you know what I mean? Like in high school.
Right.
Like I'm thinking like there's got to be some sort of like system that makes that one work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got to be.
So
they're the Royals. They figured this shit out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this one's hard. You know what I mean?
I know. I didn't go easy on you. I'm trying to make these really hard and then not give a prize.
Right. What was the first one again?
Lobsters taste. There was a man trapped at the top of the Willis Tower in Chicago for 3 weeks, formerly known as the Sears Tower.
I mean, that one's like the most banal and believable out of all of them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I almost want to say that one, Oh. Well, you know what? I'm choosing to believe in the incredible, and I'm going to go with number 2 is bullshit. I call bullshit.
You got it right. That's right. All right. Congratulations. You're one of the few that's nailed the I call bullshit.
Yeah.
I'll have some confetti falling and stuff too.
I'm perfectly cynical enough for this fucking game.
Good. Good. Well, hopefully in the near future we'll do another one of these, and hopefully the outlook in the world will be a little bit better, and you can get back to playing shows and
Let's
whatnot.
hope.
But we'll do
Yeah.
another I Call Bullshit. Yeah, you nailed it.
Sounds
Man.
good. Yeah.
Well, Austin, I'm gonna let you get back to your real life, and I want to thank you so much for being a part of this. And as soon as I get it done, I'll send you the link to it, and hopefully you can post it around on your socials and whatnot. But it's been a real pleasure
so much,
talking to you.
you know, I had a good time. It was cool hanging out.
Absolutely, man. Well, have fun, take care, be healthy, and I'll see you soon, man.
Later, bud.
Peace, buddy.